do with a certain religion, do you think?
No,
Is it anything
is it?
like that?
No, it's
No,
more to do
no.
with a kind of a drug, isn't it? It's a drug.
Yeah, well, those that take it ought to be ashamed
Well-
of themselves.
According to The Sun, there were thousands of empty ecstasy wrappers littering the floor of the 250-foot-long hangar.
Drugs, sex, sensation.
Some newspapers have called acid house music a sinister and evil cult which lures young people into drug taking. The message is certainly getting across.
The organisers kept the location secret until the very last moment, which was the main reason, according to the papers, why there were so few police here and they were unable to act.
Drug-crazed kids, some as young as 12, boogied for 8 hours yesterday at Britain's biggest ever ecstasy bash.
The party took place here, infiltrated by reporters from the Mail and the Sun.
There's meant to be a drugs-related craze.
What do you know about acid house music?
It must affect the brain in some way.
Unless it's just the music that does it. Who
All them
knows?
lights flashing don't do you any good either, do it? I wouldn't even go in the pub where them lights are.
Oh, no,
They drive you
no.
mad, don't they?
Welcome to the 88 podcast with yours truly, Wayne Anthony. And on today's podcast, we have the founder of PhatMedia. PhatMedia is one of the largest databases of old school flyers, if not the largest database of old school flyers on the internet. And so today's podcast, we have Dave from PhatMedia. How you doing, Dave?
Good, Wayne. Nice to see you, mate. How's things?
Good, mate. Good. So obviously we're all in lockdown, and you're surrounded by your entire collection now, I see.
Yeah, this is it's my flyer den / office. So built a little extension on the house, not just for my flyers, of course. I wouldn't tell the wife that anyway. But yeah, so I've made it a bit of a flyer den, and I work from home before lockdown anyway. So for about the last 3 years, I've been making bit by bit, adding little bits to the den, and
excellent.
Yeah, so it's all in my little room.
So to start off with, before we get to PhatMedia and this massive database and the large community of people that you've created around this database, let's talk about the old days. And I mean, I'm not sure how old you are, but you was partying during 1988 and 89, yes?
No, mate, I was a bit too young. Yeah, I was young. So I was born a bit later. You know, sort of 92, 93, that was my era. But just before that, my cousin used to work in, I was from Plymouth at the time. I lived in Plymouth, and I had some family in Essex, and my cousin worked in Basebox Records, I think, in Buckersfield, to get the information right. And she would send me down all these packs of flyers, and we'd get some in Plymouth, but all my mates would be so jealous of all these like London and Essex and surrounding areas, all the flyers from there, and obviously so many more as well than you get in Plymouth.
Sure.
And,
that was
it really. It was I blame my cousin Katie for giving me the flyer buzz, man. So that's when I
but we all caught that flyer buzz. I remember I've had so many different collections of flyers actually over the years, because you lose some. I remember one collection, one of my original Genesis collection of stuff that I actually lost. I actually ended up a friend of Keith, who I actually used to do Genesis with. It ended up that I actually borrowed a friend of his was going to court for this. It was a massive case, and it was this massive it was to do with robbing this building of like postage stamps, and these postage stamps, it was like worth millions. And these lads, they actually got caught breaking into this building because it was like a nondescript building. It didn't, it wasn't extra security or anything like that. It was nondescript. So no one actually knew what was housed inside, but they did. And they knew that this stamp collection was there. And so they broke into there and they got caught. And they were grown men. They wasn't our age. They were like, twice our age.
Yeah.
And they said that they were breaking in there to find venues, warehouses for acid house party promoters. Right. Yeah. And so we were getting embroidered in this case. And he was a friend of Keith's family, whatever. And so they asked us if we could kind of you know, bring him up to speed with what a promoter wants and what they're looking for, and would I be up for giving him some flyers and stuff like that. And so I went and I gave him my whole folder of flyers, you know, to make him look all official. I gave him all the contracts, I gave him everything, and I never ever saw it again. I mean, I don't know what happened. I don't even know what happened to the guy, because obviously we were involved in our own stuff, our own lives were going on. But I don't think I think he went to prison, in fact, you know. But I'm not sure, you know. But flyers has been like we always collecting flyers. And so what made you actually, so let's talk about, because one of the things that I wanted to do with this podcast, it wasn't necessarily that I only wanted to talk to people that came from the acid house era. What's interesting to me, and I think what's interesting to listeners and people watching, is what also grew from acid house, you know, and the people that came from that, the energy that movement produced, for all those that came after, they were kind of all spurned on by what had happened before that. And that's why it's interesting to speak to characters like yourself, because what you come along and do later is you create this massive archive of flyers, and almost like a historian in a curator format, and in a curated format. And that's why I think it's important to speak to people like you, because it doesn't really matter if you wasn't partying, you know, at my parties or sunrise or biology. It really doesn't matter. What's important about the conversation that we're having is that you've actually gone about creating this massive database of flyers. So before we get to that, creating that database of flyers, let's talk a little bit about, you know, your clubbing experience, because by 92 things had changed quite a lot from acid house, wasn't it? Music was quite harder.
Of course. I mean,
all of the venues were licensed and all of this stuff, so it was a different experience. But this is where the hardcore came from, drum and bass, all that stuff. So tell us a little bit about what you were doing before you discovered, I mean, you just told us that, but just tell us a little bit about that early.
So well, I mean, like, we used to get the flyers in town. We'd get tapes off our older brothers and stuff like that, and mates, older mates, and just listen to the music all the time, just be at home. And you know, you're too young to get into the clubs as much as we love to, but we didn't know anything about the 88, 89 days back then. We just thought 91, 92, that's all we knew. Occasionally you hear a little bit more history from someone who knew a bit more. And as you get older, you learn a bit more and more. But then you finally, I think, just turned 16 and managed to get into a club, the Warehouse in Plymouth, which was a big old cinema, massive venue, about 2,000 people. But I mean, it was amazing. Plymouth only had a 2 a.m. license for a long time, which was a bit of a gutter, but we always had somewhere to go afterwards, which was good. So I think it was Dance Planet Rave. I remember going in with my mate, walking in really early, as you do when you're young and a bit naive. Bouncer stopped me as soon as we got to the top of the stairs. How old are you, mate? I was like, oh, here we go. I've got a ticket and everything. I'm not going to get in. I'm 16. I didn't tell him that, of course.
But that's one of the things, isn't it, Dave? It's I've highlighted that in other podcasts, is how the media was really honed in on saying it was all teenagers and all young kids, when in reality it wasn't like that. Obviously teenagers were attracted in the long run, because you can't say that for 2 years of press saying that teenage, can you imagine being a teenager, right? And you know, and every Monday or every Sunday reading all these sensationalized newspaper headlines saying that teenagers were meeting at these secret locations around the UK. I mean, I think that's really exciting. I'd want to go and see what it was about. And so by by 1990, I would say there probably was a lot more younger people there, you know?
Well, I mean, it just blew up, really, didn't it? After 1990, I guess a lot of it went into different directions, as we all know. Obviously, it was acid house and the house movement. Then you went to the house and the club scene, or the hardcore and the rave scene, the techno and the breakbeat, and what led into drum and bass and jungle. But yeah, so I managed to, geezer behind me knew me from my dad's shop, and he said, oh, let's go back outside, Dave. He gave me his ID, went back in. Bouncer's like, oh, well, I know you're not 18, but you've got Pat Hill's ID, so I'm not going to say no to him. So I went in, LTJ Bookham on the dance floor, my mate taught me how to dance. I think I kept that same dance for 20 years.
Wow.
But that was it. Yeah, just hooked, man. After that, and then the flyers are just your sort of. It's like your gateway into the night, isn't it? And then also it's your memory of the event you've been to as well. And you know, part of the night was coming out at the end, isn't it? Getting the flyers. So many big A4, A3 by this time. Obviously not in 88, 89. They were a lot smaller.
Yeah. I mean, that's something to kind of point out as well, isn't it? It's the size of the flyers. The flyers just became posters, didn't they?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you got some. I'm sure you got some there. We get to that because part of this is, you know, we want to get you to show us some of the collection. But I'm just trying to get a feel of, you know, what was going on in your life before you started actually, because before you started making all these collections. So it was just at home, and then I guess social media has kind of helped spurn the idea of a collective. Huh?
Definitely. I mean, I was at art college in Plymouth, and so I taught myself web design and had a flyer collection, and thought, well, I used to do a lot of photography as well. That's what I was doing at college. So I'd mix it. I had a website which was photography, graffiti, and rave. So a nice bit of a mix there. And the rave bit just got more and more popular, and it slowly the photography went out of the website, then the graffiti went, and the skateboarding went out of the website, and it was just rave. And I had the name PhatMedia. I think it was like 98, sort of coined that term.
Sure.
And yeah, it was initially just a couple of galleries online of just my fairly small collection back then. And then
because I imagine, I mean, let's talk about PhatMedia. We may as well get to that now. But I imagine that, I mean, what was going on in your mind when you first started it? Because now it's you know, it says it on your homepage as well. It's the largest collection of old school flyers online. So in the very beginning, I mean, where did you think this was going to take you?
No, you don't really think about it's going to go anywhere, really. It's just more of a, like, I've got some flyers, put them online, a couple of little galleries, and then now we've got over 20,000 flyers on there, going back from the mid 80s to. We don't do any flyers for upcoming events, but people do put on fairly recent flyers. So up until like the 2010s or even 2020, I think there might be a couple.
Okay. So there are flyers up to around 2010. Did you say a couple maybe?
Yeah. Some people put more recent flyers on, but the majority you've got to say is 88 to 98. You know, that 10 years, you've got probably 18,000 of the flyers on there. Is that? And it's amazing, man. It's just blown up beyond anyone's thoughts, really.
So just tell us about the progress of that, the chronology of that. So you know, you've come out of art college, you've learned some web design, you've got a few flyers online. You know, what's next? Because there'll be other people as well that, you know, in terms of marketing your ideas, it's like, what did you do next? Because you've become one of the largest curators of this format in the world. So I'm sure people would be interested in that progression, you know?
I left art college and moved to London to try and be a photographer, and kept the website going. But then a couple of guys I knew were studying web design, and they developed far more than me in the web code, because I just stayed with the photography. And they redeveloped the site for me. They had all these ideas. We had this meeting. They said, yeah, we're going to get it so you log in, and people from all over the country can log in themselves and upload their own collections, make it like a database for other people. And that is when it really started taking off. So I had this guy called Darren, who's known as Stare. He uploaded all his original collection from 88 to 89. And someone from up north called Drew, he uploaded all of his. And we had someone from Sheffield and someone from Bournemouth, and other people from Cambridge. And so it's now a nationwide database. So it's rather than just my collection, which is Plymouth or London centric. It had from everywhere, you know, mainly England, though, admittedly.
Yeah, but I guess you kind of really marketing it in that way, isn't it? As an English thing, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there is capabilities for Euro, Australian, American, but I really don't know many.
I've got quite a few flyers from some other countries as well. You know, I'm sure that would probably take off. Yeah, you'll do well with that.
The US ones I used to collect a lot from the Bay Area. I had a connection from there. But yes, I moved to London about 2002, and eBay is really what took off the collection. eBay and raveflyers.co.uk, run by Weed.
Yeah. Listen, Weed.
Yeah, the legend.
You know, Weed. He's the original dude, mate. Massive shout out to Weed. I have to, if he's listening, I have to get you on it. weed is an absolute legend, because when I was thinking about yourself, when I was thinking about yourself, I was thinking, okay, who else has kind of done this? And it was like, well, really, the only person that I know that has really took on any type of archive that we collected before was weed. And there was that other one as well.
Yeah, so I'll have to give a shout out to Beach, who runs borough6.co.uk. So that is also the same as mine. It's probably got maybe not as many as mine now, but he's always been, he's more of a completist. So
sure, and there was one like on the 90s. He was like, really, I can't remember. I can't remember if it was that one. What was the one you just said?
Yeah, well, there's Beach at Borough 6.
Yeah, no, it wasn't that one. There was another dude. It was it like hardcore something? But getting to the point is that there wasn't many people, and I think at the time when I met Weed was doing Hyperreal.
Yeah, that's it. He hosts your book on there, doesn't it? It's a PDF.
Yeah, and so Hyperreal at the time, that was a really kind of advanced community of people that would be sharing ideas and sharing experiences, and this was today that would probably be on the dark web, you know, because it gave you all like formulas of how to make drugs and stuff like that, but it wasn't done in that type of way. It was more done in like a collective, let's share information, let's be responsible about it. And that was the first one, Hyperreal. And Hyperreal, they were from the 90s.
Yeah, so I mean, I didn't go on that side of his site so much, but he had a message board on there. So that was, obviously, we're talking way before social media, way before anything.
Yeah, this is way before social media.
Yeah, it's a real basic script. And that's the first place I ever found out other flyer collectors, aside from a couple of mates I had.
Wow.
And that's when we thought to build the network, isn't it? So we had Rumour, we had Wiggs, we had Roach Material, which is Sam.
So with the Ray Flyers, you're saying you hooked up with them first?
Yeah, because of Weed's site.
Yeah.
A lot of these are still on Facebook now, but there's a new generation of collectors on Facebook we'll chat about later.
Yeah, sure.
And then this is like buying, selling, clandestine meetings in car parks with bags of flyers and stuff.
Wow, dude, it's nuts. Can you imagine that was ever going to happen?
No, I didn't have a clue. It's so good. It's like your world lights up a little bit. And you do meet these people as well in person, which is quite cool. And I'm now good friends with 4 or 5 of them still now, 20 years later.
Excellent. So you started at rayflyers.co. You got involved with Weed and his little community, and then so what happened next?
Early days of eBay, man. It was 2002, and people started, you can buy flyers on eBay. Like, can you? As a little search, Ray Flyers. Oh, wow, wicked. And that's learning all about Sunrise and Genesis and all this. And
wow.
And then you're buying the books to read up more about it. And then that's how I started getting my knowledge more about the early days, and then finding out what flyers I really needed in my collection.
Sure. And what sort of prices were they in those days? Because I know it's all changed now, but in those days,
they would cry if they knew the prices we'd pay. Back then, you could get
it was quite cheap. Yeah,
summer for £10, £20. You know, now £250, £300.
I know, it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. You know, I've lost, by that valuation, you know, I've lost thousands of pounds just in flyers that I've lost over the years.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when you said you gave that guy your collection that you never saw.
Yeah, I was like, find him. And so I mean, that was really the passport, wasn't it, to that growth, was that joining other like-minded people and creating, because it is very much a community vibe amongst flyers. I know there's some new guys, but those early guys, yourself, you know, your Weeds, you know, it was a really communicative atmosphere, wasn't it? You know,
and that's what PhatMedia was trying to be, or is trying to be now.
Well, you are it. Well, you've kind of, I mean, you're commercial now, aren't you? I mean, once you're the biggest, that means, well, you're kind of commercial, but there's nothing wrong with that. Do you know what I mean? What you've done, I think what you've done is amazing there. I think it's fantastic. Someone had to do it, and it's important. And it's not always going to be someone from the actual culture that actually writes the books, that makes the films, that does the documentaries, that curates the archives. So we need people to come along.
Obviously, some people are like, well, you should only collect the flyers to the raves you've gone to, and most people don't.
But that's personal preference, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
You know,
just
that's personal preference, you know.
I just love flyers, and
Yeah. It's an entire picture, isn't it? It's about building an entire picture, and that's what you do with all of the other flyers. You know, you build an entire picture, and you get the general vibe what was out there. When we began flyers were really basic. Yeah, that they were really basic pastel colors. A lot of them were just handwritten. You know, a lot of them. You know,
well,
and they were great parties.
Yeah, exactly. They're like some of the best flyers, I'm sure. I mean, you go to your flyers, and I mean, okay, yours did have an element of design to it. You go before yours, and you real punk ethos, isn't it? You know, you look at some of those old
proper DIY,
shoved together, bunged on a photocopier, maybe a coloured paper, print 500, done.
Yeah.
What is it? It's a means, more of a communication means to show you how to get to a party. You know, how to get in touch with people, go into the party, and then obviously you didn't give too much information away. Sometimes you did, though, didn't you? But
yeah, I mean, it depended really, because we've had we've done just maps with just the logo on it.
Yeah,
you know? And the logo just over the general location of the venue, you know.
Yeah,
and that was quite far one. It was quite far, that one. Hey, look, there you go. Hey, look at that. And I think that's my handwriting as well.
Early '89, that one.
Go on, that's a great flyer, dude.
I haven't got many of those, to be fair, because they're really expensive.
We didn't used to print many. That was the thing. We didn't print many, and that's why they're worth so much money today. Because we used to do like 300-400. I can't remember printing 1,000 of them.
No, you don't think you did many?
Yeah, not those particular ones.
Not the early
a bit
ones,
later. Not those early pastel color ones.
Yeah.
Like the birthday card ones and all of that. Not the pastel color ones, the other ones where we try to be a bit arty and stuff. Yeah, like that one.
Yeah. You're going a bit more.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you open that, see that. I mean, it looked a lot better in our minds than it actually did.
Did something happen to the date? You
remember, see that sticker, right?
Yeah.
So, is there a sticker on that one? My eyes. Yeah, excellent. See that sticker there, yeah? Those stickers actually had to be put on there by hand. Those stickers had to be put on there by hand. And I think when we got that flyer, because it was like, one of our nicer flyers. Yeah, look at that. That's nuts, dude.
Yeah, it is a nice one.
Yeah, I've only got one of those.
So it's still.
Yeah, I've literally only got one of those. Yeah,
have you?
And as I said, I've literally only got one of those. And so what happened was the venue got found. Venue came on top. And so we had to change the actual date because we couldn't find another warehouse at that point. And we tried our best to find one. We couldn't find one. So we had to make a new date. But we already had all these flyers printed in boxes ready to go. And so I was like, okay, let's just print a little sticker out with the new date on it.
Yeah.
And then, like, it was my mum and my sisters, they volunteered that they would sit down and stick that sticker over the previous date.
They volunteered. That's good.
Yeah. So my mum and my sisters stuck those stickers on those flyers. That's nuts, mate.
But I mean, as a collector, a proper completist is going to need both versions: the non-sticker and the sticker version.
I can't remember if we had to change the date again. I can't remember. I can't actually. Yeah, I can't actually remember. But let's talk about more about you, Dave, because that was such key to the growth, wasn't it? That creating that community of people.
Yeah,
and then, I guess when you started seeing that, I mean, that must have got you quite excited.
Yeah, I mean, it was just it opens up to how much there was, because obviously we weren't that well networked back then, only with magazines and stuff.
Yeah,
and being from Plymouth as well, it's quite far away from the hubbub of the main scene. So.
And it wasn't like there was loads of websites or anything like that then. I mean, what are we talking? 90s? We're talking the 90s, yeah?
Yeah, everything starts with an E was a brilliant website, and that had the timeline of.
Yeah. I remember that website. That was a very good website. Really good. Yeah, totally. Yeah, and I think what's the name? Fantasia are doing a website. Is it?
Yeah, they're down the line at the moment, but they did pick up the mantle.
Was it like Hardcore Will Never Die or something like that? So there's been a few people that have attempted it, and that's why I've been paying attention. I've been, I've always been paying attention, to be honest, and that's why it needed to have some structure and to some organization. And so so then obviously you're having this success with rave flyers, and then at what point did you break away and think, well, I'm going to do this my own one?
Yeah, well, that was like around that same time when suggested to the guys who were heavily into web design that I knew at university, and they had all these development plans on how to make it an interactive site. So I think the difference that really helped with PhatMedia is you could then do a keyword search for a rave flyer. So you could go on, just type Eclipse and get all the flyers from the Eclipse Club in Commentary. We saw a difference with being able to search for keywords. You could search for your venue, for your designer, for your town. So you could search for Lincoln and see all these flyers in Lincoln rather than having to drill through galleries and galleries and galleries. Or you can search for Derby and type in
that was quite new as well, the whole database-driven websites.
Yeah,
I mean, you're lucky you had those guys on board, because in the 90s, I got lots of websites built and I did lots of stuff, IT stuff back then. And database-driven websites were really expensive back then. I tell people nowadays, you know, you're really lucky to have WordPress, you know, to have, I mean, I've never used Wix, whatever, but you're really lucky, you know, that you can have these templates done for you, because some of these templates that you can buy now, I was getting quoted £28,000 for in the 90s, you know, in like 1998.
Yeah, that's
database-driven website, and I'll tell you what, the website wasn't going to be anything special. I mean, I've seen WordPress websites now that are free that would have been better than what we were producing, because you know, when you're doing the database thing, it's all about the database, all about the back end, isn't it? You know, and that's what the £28,000 for. It was for the back end, you know. So to be able to build these, so the guys that you had on board, you were lucky to have those guys.
They saw what PhatMedia was, and they saw that my amateur version using Dreamweaver with frames, it was clunky, it was blocky, it looked good enough, but they just saw a way beyond that and built this interactive database. I think around 2001, eventually got it live. And
wow, 20 years, brother. That's a long time.
Yeah, it's a long time, man. So we got that.
So we should just highlight that, man. The fact that you started a project, you first launched your main PhatMedia site in 2001, and here you are 20 years later, 19 years later, and you're top of the heap. That's amazing, mate. And you haven't just turned top of the heap recently. You've been top of the heap for a while.
It's known really well, and it's surprising me. And I was on customer service to someone the other day, and they said, "Oh, what's your email?" Gave my email. "Oh, your PhatMedia." I was like, someone on Sky Internet or something. It's like, "Oh, I'm on your website all the time." Or like DJ Fantasy says, "Oh, can I use a couple of your flyers from your website for my book and stuff like this?" So it's really good how it's used now as a resource, a reference point. People use it to date flyers, that, you know, because a lot of promoters would only put vague information on the days and months, never a year.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, sometimes you had to.
We're not always correct either, so
that happens as well. It's too much. It's too much. Even for me, I get confused on some of our dates, and there's times when I completely forget about some of the parties we did, and it's on to remind me. Oh yeah, I forgot about that party.
Well, I'm surprised you see the amount of flyers. Was it Dan put up on Facebook of your Genesis?
Yeah, I saw, and there were still a few missing.
Yeah, still a few missing. Yeah.
I mean, was it you that showed me the flyer at the Paddington flyer? Oh no, it might have been Paul actually.
Right.
We did the party under the flyover in Paddington. It was this amazing. I must say, it was probably one of the most amazing buildings I've been in to date. It was this massive, round, empty structure beneath the flyover at Paddington, and it was built in that flyover concrete.
Well,
so it was like this heavy concrete, you can't damage it, and so it was quite open. There was a few gaps where you could get in there, and we got in there a couple of times, and that we did the flyer, and we joined up. We did a collaboration with Unit 4.
Is that Lenny D's?
Yeah, with Lenny D and Hensel, and I think Fantasy FM might have been on there as well. There was about 4 or 5 promoters that night that we collaborated, but it got stopped. Police came, and well, actually what happened was the sound system guys didn't turn up, you know, and then when they turned up, the police were there and they went off, And then
No,
I remember we tried to phone a few different guys, and then we did get a team in the end. But then we were like, by this time, it was unlikely the party was going to happen. So we just like, forget about it, you know. But yeah, so there was that flyer. But what you've done though, so we've gone from 2001, you've launched the thing, and remembering that this time, for people that are watching and listening, that although we're the internet to us is like everyday life for us today. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was involved in the whole internet gold rush thing, so I've been involved in internet and online formats, online portals since 1997. When it was, we started with e-groups, you remember?
Yeah, I remember e-groups. I think I had PhatMedia under some homestead self-build website.
Yeah, mate. We started with e-groups and stuff. But my first website that I actually had online was in 1995, mate.
Right, there you go.
Yeah, my first website online, 1995. It was when we were doing the record company. We were doing the Having It. I don't know if you know the Having It compilation albums.
Yeah,
Having It in Ibiza and all that. You know, I compiled them. Yeah, well, I compiled most of them. Some of them I did with Alex, and we did Alex P, and we did with Brandon.
All right. Oh, wicked.
And Norris and stuff. I think we did Benji Candelario. We did quite a few people. We sold quite a lot of that. But yeah, that was an interesting period.
Yes, that's early days of the internet. So I mean,
yeah, so that was my first website. So I'm well versed on online businesses and what have you. So I've kind of been following it. So in 2001. There wasn't that many people, and it would have been hard to drive traffic, considering there wasn't that many people that were surfing to the website.
Put it out onto all the different old school forums, like the old school web ring.
Which there wasn't many, was there? Oh yeah, I remember that old school web.
Remember?
Web
it had
ring.
the cool, like, little, logo, didn't it? With
and you could join up. Basically, the old school web ring, wasn't it? It was like this whole community of websites that were all linked together. And it was HTML, it wasn't it? It was HTML days, really basic websites, you know. It was like, I think it was even like front page.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Because I'm sure this is before Dreamweaver, because you was probably using Dreamweaver, yeah?
Yeah, that's what I learned.
Yeah. So before Dreamweaver, there was front page, and that came loaded with Windows.
Okay.
So that was the first web design package I ever used, was front page, but it didn't matter who you used. They were all so basic there and clunky, like you said, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
And slow to load, and we didn't even know the crack, did we, about having, you know, small filed images. Or small files. You know, you put like a 3 megabyte. Not even know in those days. You didn't even check how big the file was. No one did that. You didn't get info, and like it was like. So you didn't even know what you were sending. So you could be sending a 10 megabyte file and you just don't know, you know. It takes forever for someone to load the page, you know. They were clunky days.
I was really lucky because obviously they did it as a project for their own.
Yeah, was lucky. Yeah, for sure. Well, they were testing the system, I imagine. And so obviously first, and you joined that what was it, the old school web ring? And I remember,
old school web ring, that was it. I think Matt used to run it.
Okay, you knew the guy. I did actually link. I did link my sites on there in those early days. Whatever sites I had, I did link them on there. That was really interesting, because what you could do is it had that like little logo thing on every single page, didn't it? And it would give you the choice of going to the next old school or next website that was in that link, wasn't it? It was clever.
Yeah, I really liked it.
It was clever. Yeah.
All these new sites popping up, and see like the Riddler's site, huge.
Yeah, because we should also point out that there was like no one was using Google at this point.
No,
you know what I mean? Yeah, maybe there was. I don't know, but I know we wasn't. If there was, we wasn't using Google. So you had to find ways of driving traffic to your websites, and these sort of services that we're speaking about, the web link, old school web ring, they were they were linking all of these old school people together. And so none of us really minded the fact that we were all linked together, because it just meant that on a click of a button, we could go to the next website, which is going to be something that you wanted to see, because there was no Google to search. So
no, and I'll tell you what was really important is do you remember the pages on people's websites that said links? You don't ever visit that anymore. But
that's another one.
That's where you go. You go on the links, and so we would all be like, can you put my link on your website, and I'll put yours on mine. And that would be quite a common email you'd get from all these different website owners. And that's
for sure. I've done that loads of times. I've done that to thousands of people. You know, that was part of the thing. Now, no one wants you to leave their website.
That's the thing of the past now, having a links page. I think you don't see that anymore.
It's a shame. Yeah, because it's quite a social, you know, and community thing to do as well.
Yeah. Well, you'd return the favor, wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. It was a massive thing. Links were huge, but again, this was all before Google, before using search engines. I think Yahoo might have been around.
Yeah, Yahoo is what we was using. I think. Yeah.
But so you're part of this web, and how well did you do on the old school web ring?
I don't know really.
Because there was no stats, was there?
Yeah, it didn't have the analytics there.
Yeah.
So that's only been, say, the last 6 or 7 years, I think, I've logged into the analytics. But at least
I mean, the analytics has been around for a while, because for the sales guys.
They would have had it way before I had it.
They've had it forever. But for us, we didn't have no real reason, because if I guess we didn't really. It wasn't about how many people came to your page or how many hits you got. It wasn't even about that, was it? It was just about, and the thing is, it was so new, Dave, wasn't it, mate? The whole technology, the whole thing was just so new, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I was out doing spraying stencils on pavements and walls with PhatMedia's web address, rather than going onto different web pages as well to promote it. So that's how old school we were doing it. But I still do now. See them all around Brick Lane.
Yeah, don't grass yourself up, mate. Don't grass yourself up.
Not me personally putting them out there, of course. You know,
yeah. I mean, now it doesn't matter when you go to Brick Lane now. All the stickers and all the art and all stuff like that. So it fits in nicely, and it's just amazing that all the art that you see in Brick Lane. I mean, going back, I mean, I had an office in Brick Lane in '98 in the Truman Building, and in the early days, because one of my pals, Alan, who started the whole thing. He started the Truman Building, and Alan Miller. And when I first went, because what Alan Miller, his idea was to get all the DJs and all the party promoters in the Truman Building, because at this point it was closed. Yeah, there was no one in there. When I went to see Alan, he had the only office. They had 2 or 3 offices next to each other, but they were the only offices in the whole place. And they were the only people on the whole of the Truman complex.
Yeah, it changed massively, isn't it?
Well, and it was because of them, you know. It was Alan and Lee, and I take my hat off to them. They set out. They said, "This is what we want to do," and it evolved into something much, much, much bigger within just a few years. Like by 1998, they actually changed the fabric of the entire area. No one wanted to go down in Brick Lane.
No one
wanted to go down there, mate. You know, and this was. The reason why people went there is they went there because of the Truman Building, and it was the Truman Brewery where all of the other, you know, more niche shops started opening on Brick Lane, and then drew in all of these different types of people. But if it wasn't for the Truman Brewery, then that whole thing wouldn't have happened. But the reason I'm talking about Brick Lane is because of this. It was all of the art and all the graffiti. To think now that having that type of art and graffiti actually draws tourists into the area, and even some people adds value to their property, because you're now in this cool area. It's all arty. I mean, the places in Hackney Wick now are worth an absolute fortune. But so you still go out today and you still do stickers? Definitely.
Yeah, well, pre-lockdown, I mean,
but let's go back though. We're talking about the stickers, but let's go back. So then what happened after that then? So you're out there, you're putting your stencils up, you know, you're adding because again, we don't know how many people are hitting the websites. We don't know any analytics. We don't know any of the stats. This is purely for the love.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm buying and selling flyers basically to build the collection, to scan and put onto PhatMedia. So I used to buy eBay collections, bulk lots, big boxes. You can turn up in the post. And then you sift through, you keep all the ones you haven't got, and then you resell all the ones you have got. And then you keep doing that, buying and selling. And that's how it built from say 500 flyers in my collection in 1998 to about 22,000 flyers now.
Wow, dude.
2021.
Wow. I mean, and do people upload big files, high resolution flyers?
Yeah, they don't get in there if they do that because
Good. You're limited.
Got to be, I think it used to be 500 kilobytes and lower, but I think it's a bit higher now. You get through.
Yeah, you have to limit that.
Like you were saying about how much it used to cost. It used to cost me about £20 a month to run, which you know, it doesn't sound loads, but over a year when it's not a profit making, it doesn't make any money.
Totally, mate. It's a lot of money over the years. The same as I've spent years. I've just in the last few days got a massive bill for web hosting, £900.
Oh well, I use the guys put me through Amazon Web Services now, so now it's about $5 a month, so which is
excellent,
a lot cheaper, and they host as much as you want. That's
so
brilliant,
so then, So the 2000s have come around. The technology is getting better. The internet's getting faster. Has social media come about at this point?
Yeah, what we on? So broadband was coming in. I think no, because I left England for a couple of years to go to Australia in 2006, and I don't think Facebook came about till I was out there for the UK market anyway, and Twitter was later. So
well, kind of just 2006. It was like in as far as I don't know. I can't speak for America. But in terms of the UK, YouTube was kind of just really kind of making a
So it's all
it was making a run for it, wasn't it? You know, it was like for world domination. You know.
Yeah, well, YouTube first came about when I was in Australia, and I think you could only do 10-minute video clips. That was your limit. So there's PhatMedia, loads of old rave videos on it, but they're all in. Why are your videos all cut up into little sections? It's because I uploaded them like 15 years ago when you could only do 10-minute clips, and I can't be bothered to redo them now. So.
It's me too. I mean, let's talk about that a little bit. So the social media came along, and so you were using that to your advantage, and you was uploading videos, and
you can then make a PhatMedia profile. But at this point, I have to say, Wiggs did it's all about flyers.com. So where Weed had his Ray Flyers site, and he had the price guide where he'd update the eBay sold stats all the time, which was godsend, really. Such a great
invaluable information.
Yeah, unbelievable. And it's still there now, but it finishes in 2007. So he didn't have time or energy to do it anymore. So Wiggs took over the mantle from that.
Wow.
Kept the stats updated to obviously not every flyer sold, but just the ones that were more noticeable, like maybe over £10 and higher. And so, so Wiggs took over the sort of forum aspect of Ray Flyers there. And that reached a bit of a bigger audience, I think, but they were both going still at the same time.
Sure.
And then we had Facebook. So first thing I do on Facebook is say my name's PhatMedia and set up a PhatMedia account. And I think I've been chucked off a couple of times because they sort of say, hey, that's not your name.
Yeah, we all have.
I've gone from PhatMedia to Dave Flyers to PhatMedia Flyers. I think I'm now on PhatMedia Dave or Dave PhatMedia. I can't even remember, to be honest. But,
I suppose you can blag that PhatMedia, I guess, you know, but they're terrible. The thing is, you know, I've got a Facebook group with over 500,000 people in it, and they've locked LSD magazine. And they've locked me out of it a few times, and it kind of really disheartened me because I'd worked so hard on getting that 500,000 people, and they cut, you know, like one day I had 699,000, and it was like the next day it was going to be 700,000, and I was waiting to celebrate that, so I was watching the stats, and then the next day it was like down 20,000. I was like, what's that? And then the day after, down 10,000. Day after, down 10,000, and it riddled right the way down to about 560,000. And I didn't understand why, because at the same time, the stats were also saying that I was getting 2,000 or 3,000 new followers a day.
That makes sense.
So it wasn't making any sense at all. And that's why when I tell people that I'm shadow banned on social media, some of them just think I'm just saying it, I think, for effect or whatever. But this is what happened to me. And then it got to that. But my mum, and then they started wanting to just, you know, delete my account and not give me access to LSD magazine. And it really disheartened me. And then the last time, the last interaction I had with Facebook was just a few couple of months ago where I updated my phone and I used that authenticator app.
Yeah.
And so that authenticator app was on my last phone. And so, so I didn't have any access to it. So I contacted Facebook and in the past, they've made me, the last time they took off my LSD magazine page, I had to get a sworn affidavit. I had to produce so much ID, all of my ID in my life, I had to produce, which I didn't want to do, and a sworn affidavit,
Yeah.
And then, so they gave me it back. But then this time, so I contacted them and I said, hey, sorry, I've lost my phone. I lied. I said, I've lost my phone. It's got my authenticator in it. Boom, boom, boom. Can you sort out a new one? So they said, send us all your ID again. Yeah. So I sent them all my ID and I sent them my new passport. I got a new passport. And the way that, the new passports is your photograph on them isn't exactly clear. It's kind of distorted, like a computer can pick it up. Right. But anyway, Facebook, I gave them all the ID and they turned around and said to me, no, wait, that's not good enough. It was like my passport, bank statements and everything. And I was like, what do you mean it's not good enough? And I was just like, it's not good enough. So I was lucky that I actually found my phone. I didn't find it. It wasn't lost, but I pumped it with full of, energy. It wasn't at my place. It was somewhere else. Anyway, I got the phone back and I was lucky enough. I was able to do it. And then I was able to convert that back to the new phone. But Facebook are an absolute nightmare.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people get chucked off there. I mean, I've only had to change my name, but they did make me, I think I was offline for about a week while they had to see my ID and stuff. And then once I got let back in, I changed the name back to PhatMedia.
Yeah, sure. So you didn't have to, I had to do sworn affidavit, mate.
That's crazy.
I had to go to a lawyer's, take all my ID to the lawyer, swear, you got to swear that you're that person and all this stuff, It's
hardly worth it, is it? But when you've got such a big following with your LSD site, then you've got
they got you, didn't they? They got you by the nuts, So, but from that time, I've been I kind of let it go because at first I thought, I know you want to take this away from me, So I kind of was like, okay, well, I let it go. If it goes, it goes, and I kind of been like that with it ever since.
Sam, who was on the weed site, I think you've dealt with him before as well. Yeah, top bloke.
I think I have. Yeah.
And he's just constantly uploading to PhatMedia all the time. So there's a huge boom of archive on there, and South Coast. So I went to Australia. I was off grid. I was in the outback, back and beyond, working in farms and just having a good time, getting away from it all for a couple of years.
Nice.
And so got back. Well, I met my wife to be out there as well. So
excellent.
It was
amazing.
Good. So come back.
I spent a while out there too.
Yeah, it's an amazing place, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could have lived out there, but family and everything. Come back for. Come back.
I moved out there. I was like, I'm out, mate. I'll tell you what. I did a season in Ibiza. We did Pasha for the season. We did Pasha for the season. At the end of that season, I was so battered.
So you couldn't need a break.
I said, listen, I'm moving. And our business was doing really well. I was doing the Having It albums then, and I came back, and this was 96, so we did 95. So I did Having It in Ibiza 2, and we did one with Nicky Holloway as well called Ibiza 95. Nicky Holloway mixed it, and so I did those when I got back from about October, something like that, from Ibiza, and then I just said, and everyone was really shocked. As I said, listen, I'm out. I'm resigning from the company. And I'm going to live in Australia with a load of hippies.
Well, did you know people?
It didn't turn out to be hippies. I ended up staying with a load of like high-profile people, but I ended up in Australia. So I got as far away as I possibly could.
I think that's what I felt like at the time. I just needed to get away from just come out of a big long-term relationship and stuff. And my mates were going out there there was these trial flights they were doing, real low budget. You had no frills at all. Thompson Air. I went out there for £100.
Wow. Cool,
that was
how many stops? That must have been like 17 stops.
No, it was a 24-hour flight, basically, but with a break. It stopped once to refuel.
Yeah.
So you didn't go to the plane or nothing. It's just like...
It was like that back then. I've only been there like that. One stop,
Yeah, but it was amazing. And so I went to a couple of the equivalent to the illegal raves back in England. They call them duffs out there, bush duffs, a duff, 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 like that. And you
Go on.
go on a meeting point, you go on a little bus up to the hills, getting another bus, go up to the hills, see the lasers in the distance, and then boom,
Cool.
That was cool. Did a couple of those. Just
and who are
enjoying
doing those? Like Australians or?
Yeah, techno party.
Okay. Because
Yeah,
duff, that sounds like maybe that would be something that the Aborigines would be doing, but no, these are like what locals are doing.
Duff named after the bass, yeah, just sound systems, man. Techno, like trancey techno, going for it for 3 days in the 38-degree heat.
Wow.
Hardcore, man. And
that is hardcore, dude.
Could not do 3 days of that. So we sort of bailed after a night and a half sort of thing, then you get heat strokes.
Even that's a long time, a night and a half, but yeah. But back
really
then I suppose you're young and
yeah.
So you spent a couple of years in Australia, and then you kind of you came back, and it got a bit more like you met your wife and everything, and you came back and it got a bit lively.
Come back, moved into East London, and just picked up PhatMedia full on. Then just went at it, like got back on the vibe.
And so at this point, when you got back on it, was the idea then to be, I want this to be massive?
Yeah, it was always meant to be massive, but I just didn't always have the effort behind it. So I was sort of drifting, just going easy in life before then. So when I got back, just sort of my new job was always at the computer next to a scanner and a printer. And I was just bringing stacks of flyers into work every day, scan, upload, like doing that constantly. So it really took off then. So that was good. Yeah. And then the idea of a book come along as well. So that's something we've been working on the last few years. So that's taking a bit longer, as it always does.
Because obviously that's the next thing. I mean, a book has to come, doesn't it? But then I guess
it always should have been a book. It always should have been a PhatMedia. Well, a Rave Flyers book, a new one, because there's a few, and there's Chelsea's with Rave Art, but it's a very personal collection of really cool flyers from the Acid days and House days.
Yeah, it's not definitive of the whole entire period. It's a personal.
It's an area, isn't it? Selection, and we're going a bit more broad. So there was High Flyers, I think, in '95, and republished in '96. So that's very old.
Nice. Yeah.
Very good at the time. But yeah, it's overdue, and someone approached me from a different publishing house, independent, but they were retro gaming books. And it went a fair way with him. And then his stock burnt down in a fire in Hong Kong. So he had to pull away from that because he didn't have the money to invest in a new type of project. So in that time, I'd been approached by a couple of other independents. So I managed to hook up with one of them, who's a friend as well, called Al at One Love Books. He's done a lot of reggae music books and things like that before. So yeah, we get on really well. So we've been doing this project the last couple of years together now, interviewing quite a few people, some who you've had on your podcast. We had Roy and Steve on recently.
Excellent. That's the Rave at the Cave Boys.
Yeah, Rave at the Cave Boys. And we also met up with all the designers. So Giorgio, Pez, who you had on with Richard, met up with Richard, Junior, Dave Little.
Excellent.
Yeah, and loads of people we've spoken to on the phone as well, because obviously we can't do
Dave Little, he did the Spectrum flyers, didn't he?
Yeah, really nice bloke. Such a talented artist, as they all are. But yeah, he's doing clothing now, actually. So,
wow, yeah. I've got one of his prints of an original original Spectrum print.
Oh, what, the eye?
Up on my wall now. I'm looking at it, it's like
it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Amazing bit of art. So you had to reproduce that exactly. The Jibaro 12-inch record.
Yeah, that's what I've got. I've got the updated version.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it's not a scan. It's not a scan of a flyer.
No, it's actual.
Yeah, it's actual artwork.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, mate, skill these airbrush kings. So also Chaos, who is Lawrence, who now has been working for McLaren, doing airbrushing Formula One karts and main cars. These guys are talented beyond belief.
They are. I mean, I've been working with street artists and graffiti writers for 12 years now, and they're the most creative people I've ever been around.
Yeah, it's a skill that I can't comprehend really for myself. But having
your thing is
PhatMedia,
different. I mean, you did the art school thing, so obviously you have that background, and I think you
background,
saw
definitely.
something in the flyers. And
Yeah, I was a photography. I was an image
yeah,
man. I guess what
yeah.
drew me to the other people's artwork.
But
and
that's okay. Everyone has their place, you know, and it
yeah,
doesn't mean anyone's in a better position than anyone else. It just means
no,
if that's your thing, that's your thing, you know, that's
well,
fine, you know.
because of PhatMedia and because of the contacts I've got recently, say the last 4 or 5 years, we've managed to get this book come along really nicely and visit these collectors I know around the country and get all the rare little bits scanned or get the interviews from DJs and promoters. So that's been really, really
Very
good.
cool.
I've got to
Very
say
cool.
thank you to Daniel Bunter as well, actually, in Richard Raindance, for doing the rave story and let me have a little pop-up rave flyer stall down there.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So there was an exhibition. Tell us about the whole exhibition and your part in that.
Yeah, so Billy Bunter approached me and said, "Can you provide some flyer scans for the first one?" I was like, "Yeah, totally. I'll help out as much as I can." Sent them some scans. Someone did a montage for them, and they did some big boards to put up in the background. They looked awesome. And I went down there like a couple of times in Old Street at the Aquarium nightclub, and that was pretty much my role then. I just sort of helped out with scans and stuff. But after the next year, they said, "Well, we want you more involved. Bring all your flyers down. Bring your, you can set up a little stall. So set up like a little for sale stall in the booths there." And
nice.
Brilliant. So you just meet all these collectors, all these people interested in art, all these designers coming in, saying hello, buying a flyer, hanging around. Yeah, it's great fun.
And so that's what you were doing there. You were actually selling flyers, yeah?
Yeah, selling flyers. Yeah. And then Dan had the record store opposite me. There was a gallery, like Sam had all the photos.
I remember seeing you down there. Yeah.
Yeah, you did the seminar, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. I did the seminar. Yeah, I did the seminar. No, no, I remember. I see you down there that day, didn't I? Yeah.
Yeah, that night. Yeah, so that was one of the last ones, and then they did the little rave afterwards, didn't they? So I don't think you hung around for that, but
no. I'm not a party head anymore, you know.
No, I stayed on for the party, but
yeah. Why not?
Seminars were great, actually. It's really, really good. Really busy.
And so, so what you were saying there was that you were meeting lots of people, and I guess people just want to speak about the rave history now, because you're obviously in a position where you've been around so many flyers that you've got a really good history, a really good knowledge of flyer history.
Yeah, without meaning to, before you know it.
Yeah.
So much about this country, town or club, so much about that promoter, and then you're connecting, you're just reading the back of the flyers, you're scanning the information. You enter in it, I recognise that promoter name, and then you look up, do a search, and it comes up with other flyers they've done, and then you email someone. So yeah, before you know it, you end up, I probably know lots about loads of them, but not everything about, each one. So people are always asking me email questions about like, oh, what did this promoter do? How much does this flyer worth? That's the main one at the moment, actually. How much is this flyer worth?
The value of flyers, because again, that's something that you're paying close attention to, that because you're always sending me, WhatsApps with whenever the Genesis flyers come up, and so tell us about that, because that has obviously grown a lot since you started doing it, huh?
Yeah, that's taken off. So there's a group we're on Facebook, Rave Flyers, Rave Memorabilia, run by Will and Rebecca. And they asked a few extra people to be admins as it got to about 5,000 members a year or so ago.
Yeah.
And then come to lockdown, it just went mad, just went crazy. So you've got 45,000 members now, which
is
it's
a lot.
It's a lot, man. And that's in a couple of years growth. So that's pretty good.
It's a lot. And is this the one with I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. Is that Jai?
Yeah, Ant.
Oh, okay. Right. He's Ant.
Giant.
Ah.
Yeah. But this has caused a market surge as well. The popularity of this group is brought everyone up into their lofts. They're selling their garages, their sheds, their nan's basement, wherever, you name it. Oh, I brought this down from the loft. Oh, I've got this out. I ain't seen this in 20 years.
And that's exciting, isn't it? It's like, so instead of, even when I was young, what did they call it? Trumps. When I was young, they used to have those cards. They were like packs of cards, essentially, with pictures on them, and you had trumps. And And then we had the football sticker books, you know, and then you had to get them. And so as we was growing up, you had all these different things and collecting, but who would have thought that one day that you would get that much excitement, that childish, because I don't mean, you know, you're a child, but that childish like excitement, you know, at getting to see something, a flyer that's special, you know.
A lot of people, it means a lot to a lot of people. They're really enthusiastic about their flyers and the collections and stuff, and it's nice to see, man. And
it is nice to see, because considering when you started, mate, you know, no one was around, no one was looking at the flyers, and to feel where you are today, like, so anyone can like sign up to your website.
Sign up to the website. If you only need to sign up if you're going to upload photos.
So you could, so you've got access to the entire website, but if you want to upload some photos, you just you log in, sign up.
The Facebook group, and we're all on there, and we're always available for anything anyone needs to know about flyers. You know, I like it, love it. Sometimes I don't have a lot of time, but I've got a lot of messages, and it's really good. There's such a good community. There's obviously a lot more vocal people on there, and we know each other quite well now. Sure. But it's a new range of collectors, a new breed of collectors. Can I say? I don't know if that's the right word.
Yeah. So it's changed over the years because before, and I guess what you mean in that is, where before it was ravers that might have been to those parties, I guess now it's more people that want to collect flyers as potential investments. Is that what you mean?
There is an element of that. A lot of these people are being sort of the early 90s, so may have missed the early days like me as well.
Okay.
And what's that's done is now pushing flyers that were £2 to £5 on eBay 10 years ago. They're going for now £50 to £100, some of them.
Wow.
Everyone wants Eclipse Coventry flyers. Everyone wants to.
Really? Wow. I've got lots of Eclipse Coventry flyers.
1990, 91, Eclipse Coventry, Amnesia House, Energy.
And that's the next generation. That's your generation, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. These were never expensive. The odd one or two were more sought after, but they were never expensive to buy on eBay. And now they're quite hard to buy for less than a tenner now, a lot of these. So
wow.
I'm quite lucky in the fact that a few of us obviously have all these already. But now so the market surged on eBay, I think due to the popularity of our group and due to lockdown, the first lockdown, especially when a lot more people were furloughed and had time off and maybe needed to sell. Like I'm self-employed, so I wasn't furloughed, but I lost all my work for 5 months or so. So I just dug out all my spares and I was like, sell.
Why not though? Why not?
Run into the market, and it was great. Yeah. And
well, and it gives you that, because obviously the way that the world is right now is that you have to find another way of doing business.
This is what a lot of people realised.
And so you were just doing good business, and so
I normally keep all the spares. I keep all the spares in the crates and the filing cabinets to take to the events that Billy Butler does, Dan does at the rave store, because I preferred always to just sell face to face. It'd just be like a couple of quid each. And I was like, I've got all these spares. I can't go out anywhere and sell them. So, I just thought I'd go on eBay and start selling again. So, it was cool to have that.
Excellent. And what would you say have been the best sellers? What have been the best sellers, and what would you say are the most valuable flyers today?
Yeah, okay. Well, that's a good question, Wayne. So we've got here Dreamscape 1. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see.
Oh, cool. I have that flyer.
Face in the laser grid.
Beautiful flyer. ESP, those guys, Murray and the boys. Lots of love.
Obviously, the question on everyone's lips is, who is she? There's so many people saying she's this actress or that. Bridget Nielsen, I think a lot of people say.
I just thought it was someone they made up. The artist.
No, it's from like those Image Bank books.
Is it really? I thought they made that image up completely.
Yeah. I've got the original magazine.
Excellent. Oh, wow. Right.
It's a creative photograph by an American photographer. It's all photography. There's no computer on that, which is pretty cool. Well,
that's photography.
They did explain it in his book, how they do it, and lots of long process of different series of images and then joining it together, darkroom techniques. And yeah, it turns out she's not famous anyway. Her face, she's just a fairly unknown American model from the mid-80s.
Wow, Dreamscape. I mean,
fluctuates. This is a classic example. So it goes from, I mean, at one point it was up to £75. You could sell it, bang, £75. You're guaranteed to get that much bids on it.
wow.
So back in the day, it's always been a £15 to £20 flyer.
Okay.
But then lockdown just went up and up. So after lockdown, September, the market dropped a little bit and it's settled, went down to about £30. And now lockdown happened again. It's up to about £50 to £60 again now. So it's a real fluctuating market, that one, which is quite funny. But that's the most probably sought after flyer, most wanted flyer.
Right, this today, that Dreamscape flyer, I think I might even have a few of those.
It's not rare. It's not rare. Everyone's got it, or everyone wants it. So everyone just, if you haven't got it, you're going to want it.
It's a beautiful flyer.
So that's why there's a market for it. So people
it reminds me, it's got that Tron sci-fi feel to it. Yeah,
it worked, and I think it just made Dreamscape what it is.
Definitely, they were good. They did good flyers. ESP.
Yeah, so you've got Dreamscape 2 followed suit with the face.
There you go.
3 changed a bit, but these are all image bank images until Pez helped design the later ones.
Well, yeah, till Pez and Pops as well. God rest his soul. Pops, he did a lot of flyers.
Yeah, he's passed away now, isn't he? Sad.
Yeah.
But we interviewed him about 10 years ago.
Oh, go on.
Yeah, got him on film, unedited, so we'll have to get that out.
Wow, you should get that out, dude, because get that out, because no one's got any real footage of Pops, you know. But anyway, let's continue on with your fly collection. So what you got there? What you got there on the desk? Show us what you got on your desk.
Some more ESP flyers, which is before Dreamscape. They did.
Oh yeah, I remember those.
The Milwaukee's. I've got to say shout out to Paul Ball for sending me a couple of these in mint condition.
Go on, Bounce. Yeah. Was that ESP Bounce?
ESP, so that's before Dreamscape.
Okay, yeah, go on. Excellent.
What we got? We got Spectrum. So
yeah, let's talk about Spectrum flyers.
So obviously he gave Paul Oakenfold the club, didn't he, to do Spectrum?
Yeah.
And you got kindly donated to me by Paul Ransom, who printed a lot of these. Dave Little's classic sticker, 88, and then they whacked that onto a badge. These sell for about, I don't know, 50, 75 quid each now, which is crazy.
Yeah, so the original Spectrum, and it's not the entire flyer. There you go. There's the flyer. That's just a part of the flyer.
The 88 one.
Yeah.
Early 88. We can go for a couple hundred quid now.
Yeah. Excellent.
Quite easy. So a shout out to Steve Proctor for helping me with one of these, and a recent another guy, I forget his name, on eBay. But then they sold the franchise, didn't they? Spectrum to Birmingham. It went up to Birmingham for
I remember. I don't know if they sold it. Is that what happened? They actually sold it.
Don't quote me on that. I don't know, but I think someone might have said it went there as a franchise type thing.
I remember the flyer. That's it. The darker flyer. Yeah. Nice.
They went to 5 rather than A6.
Nice.
And even A4 actually. So,
nice.
But I mean,
I remember them laminated ones.
Yeah, lovely. That was Paul Ransom printed those.
Oh yeah, Paul. I know Paul.
Yeah. Okay, he's a lovely bloke. So yeah, he printed a lot of these and the Shum flyer and stuff like that.
Nice. But tell us a little bit about that, because that, I guess, we're talking about the value of flyers and stuff like that. And where does, are anyone doing fake flyers? Because I imagine this must have encouraged a few printers to start doing fake flyers.
It's inevitable it's going to happen. When people see those prices, people are going to cash in, aren't they?
Sure.
Well, I'm a bit naive to it and think, no one's going to do it. And sure enough, Dave, can you check this out? Have a look at this flyer. And I put my hands up. There was one where I was initially skeptical and sort of dismissed it. And the guy said, no, Dan actually flagged me to it. Said, no, Dave, have another look. I've looked at it in more detail. Because I do Photoshop for a living. So I got the scan from eBay and overlaid it on the original scan. And you can see where the guys tried to Photoshop out using a clone tool to fold. And in doing so, you lost all the details behind it. And then as soon as I see that, I start seeing other mistakes and there and there. So we put a call out on the group. If you've bought this, get in touch. You need to you bought a fake flyer, you know, you spent 290 quid on it or whatever,
No
which
way.
is not on you. It's not on. It's a proper piss take. Sorry, my
That
language.
is bang out of order.
You know what I mean? Someone's
Bang
paying a
out
lot
of order.
on this, and not everyone knows the flyer to compare it with. So, you know, some fakes may look obvious, but some may be well done.
If you don't know the flyer, if you're just a collector.
Yeah. Most collectors know just the feel, even the smell, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. It's got that old rustic.
Yeah, that you look for the blue tag and folds or bits like that. But yeah, so he sold 2 of these fake flyers, and one guy got in touch. I managed to get his money back through eBay. The guy denied it to his blue in the face, and I think eventually he sort of slowly admitted that it might have been fake. He said, "Oh, I got sold it from someone else," and no, we realised he was.
Yeah.
He was on
well, once he's given you money back, he's holding up.
Yeah, the guy got his money back, and
he's holding his hands up, and
yeah. And there wasn't much more we can do. We're not the police, you know what I mean? So we just try and help people don't get ripped off. And there's been a few others like that. One guy's selling them as copies on eBay.
Yeah, I heard about this guy. So, but apparently he's not actually writing on them that they're copies or something. Is that correct?
That's what I've been told. He said he was gonna, but he also said he'd sold out. But I keep seeing him relisting them on eBay. He said, "Oh, I've got just a few copies done back in the day, really high res."
So we should say then, you know, to people that are listening, you know.
Yeah.
Well, we're listening to All Day's Valuations here, and we're hearing that these flyers are going for hundreds and hundreds of pounds. And obviously, when we were doing parties back in the day, people were printing up fake tickets. So why wouldn't they print fake? And I even suspect there might be people printing up fake Class of '88 books.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
And not necessarily in the UK, but the Americans. And because I found it was quite odd that whenever the Americans had a book, and they were selling them for £500, you know, like whenever they had one on Amazon.com, it was always brand new. Yeah, and I just thought, well, that's a bit weird, you know. And I would send these guys messages, not even like giving them a hard time, just congratulating them on getting that money. I'd say, hey guys, I wrote that book. Well done for getting that money. And they never ever replied.
No, they're not going to reply.
You know, so that's what first kind of triggered my suspicion that something's not right here. You know,
that does seem a bit strange. But yes, I mean, some people say, well, look, I don't mind buying a copy because I can't afford £200 for the original.
No, but that's fine then. At least you know that's what you're buying. I'm buying a copy. But you with your copy, if there's no way, if there's nothing on that flyer that says it's a copy, who's to say you're not going to sell it on?
Yeah, man, it could get back in the market.
It could get back in the market.
Yeah, and someone else could swap hands, and then eventually someone sells it, may not even know it's fake, and sell it as an original.
I think
I just have a bit of a problem with it, with that perspective. I don't want fakes getting into the market as real. So if someone states on it it's a copy, put some sort of watermark on it, and states it in the sale, then there's not much you can do about that. I would personally rather no one did that, but I'm not. You know, that's just my opinion. Other people have their own opinions, which is fair.
No, I think, it's nice to have a copy of a flyer, but I feel that it needs to be clear that it's not an original flyer. And I think that when these messages, like the conversation we're having right now, the more people get to understand that, no, hang on, people are paying £300 for a flyer today, you know, so people want to make sure that they're not getting fakes. People need to be a little bit more careful about the flyers that they buy, because even like the Genesis flyers, you know, you're not going to find a new one.
No.
You know what I mean? It's going to be, if you do, I'm going to be highly suspicious of it, you know, but so it's going to be hard to find a new one. And it was the same with my book, Class of '88. It was, how come they've always got new books? You know?
Yeah.
So there's nothing you can do to actually stop it, but it does.
I think what you said is a valid
like if he put it this way, if he does a Genesis flyer, you know, I'm definitely going to contact him.
Yeah, I think Tim wasn't too pleased seeing someone recently doing some reproducing some NG artwork. That was obviously Tim Holmes, who's Hobbs,
mate.
Who's quite big in the game now, and also
if you're watching, mate, don't do a Genesis flyer.
There was a few people upset recently. Someone else doing some reprints on different materials, and he didn't make any effort to collaborate.
That's a bit interesting, though.
a lot of the designers are fine as long as you get in touch with them and they'll come to a collaboration.
Yeah, and did you say he's doing it on different materials?
Yeah, I think a few people have tried this.
So it's not, when you say different materials, so it's not a flyer, it's not a cardboard flyer.
You do it on like metal plate.
Yeah, well, that's different.
Yeah,
but my opinion is a bit different for that.
Yeah,
you know, because we know that none of the party promoters did that. So we know that didn't come from the promoter. Whereas with a flyer, you're like, well, you don't know, you know.
That's true. Yeah, no, the issue with that was something like Giorgio Say, for example, or Steve Reed, who designed Shum, would see their design on something else being mass produced and sold. So
for a lot of money and not cheap either. So
I don't know how many.
So do you think it's an issue, or am I making it more of an issue than what it is?
I'd say, put it this way: some people are just being constructive and trying to make a little bit of revenue. Most of the flyers didn't have original art on, so there is that. Yeah, but
there's that.
Something,
but it's still about branding, though. You know, I might not have owned that picture, but the branding that goes around that picture, I do. You know,
I would say if you're gonna use an original artist's work, just ask them and come into a collaboration. And if it's not an original artist's work, if it's just like a rip-off, then you probably get away with it and it's fine. But what was it? I've lost my train of thought there.
No, we were just talking about the printing fake flyers.
Are you making more of it? Well, let's say there's 16,000 flyers for sale on eBay at any one time at the moment.
Wow, really? 16,000 flyers on eBay?
And the amount of fakes on there, in my opinion,
very low.
Opinion on it is very small.
Yeah, I would say that. No, but I would say the fakes are going to be with the most the valuable flyers. That's where I feel like you're going to have to look out.
Yeah.
Say that again.
There's no point faking like you run of the mill £2, £5 flyer, is there?
Yeah.
So a lot of people, because there's been one or two, maybe 3 or 4 incidents of reprints this year or last year, it gives eBay a bad name and people assume that everything's fake. Actually do, you know, it's just full of fakes. Well, it's not full of fakes.
And I suppose the next thing now is like you've become an authenticator as such.
Well, that's what I say. Yeah, you mentioned make sure you know about the flyer you're going to buy. If you're going to spend a lot of money on a flyer, maybe email a few of us or go on the group, say, what's this flyer look like? Is this seller legit? Make sure the seller is legit. Sometimes you can tell from the other flyers they're selling. Try and compare it with an image you've seen online or a scan.
And I mean, that's another progression for you as well. That you know, you've started off, you know, as this solo dude. you don't know who's looking at your website. You don't know who's looking at your flyers. You know, and as you've come along now, and you've progressed to this far, where you're actually become one of the leading authorities on the history of ray flyers, man. That's a stat.
Yeah, I guess if you say it like that, man. But
you know,
really, I've been called the wiki of ray flyers, the oracle of ray flyers.
So tell me, go on.
Someone even called me the Fagin of ray flyers, but I weren't that.
Go on, son.
I didn't like that one. No,
so tell me, what is your favorite flyers? Have you got a favorite top 5? Because it's always hard. 20,000 flyers in your database, it must be quite hard. You know, you've become this authenticator. When people, it's a bit reminds me like the Banksy boys. If you ever wanted to authenticate a Banksy, you go to banksy.co.uk and they will authenticate it for you.
Yeah.
And you'll become that as such. If people want to authenticate a flyer, or if a flyer's the real thing, you know, they come to you. I mean,
I'm
excited to have that. It's quite an honor. It's quite an honor to have that position as well, isn't it?
It is nice. Yeah, it's nice to be respected in that way. And you know, people do come to me because they know PhatMedia and they've heard of the name. And between me, it's not just me though. Luckily, there's a really good network through PhatMedia. I've met all the other collectors and designers and promoters, and so we are trying to build an authentication network now. And it's long overdue. I keep saying, yeah, I'm going to set the group up, but we're going to make an authenticating board as such. So try and give people a port a portal to sort of come in and say, is this flyer legit? And there's all sorts of things we could lead on from there. We can have flyers to be sold with a form of provenance, so you can put the history of the flyer, who you bought it off, where did you get it from originally, or is it been in your possession the whole time? So it comes with some sort of form. It would take on board the baseball cards of America, their ideas, things like that. So lots of ideas.
It's a good idea. There's longevity. There's longevity to it as well.
I think so. Yeah, I think
there is. You could do this. I could see this type of operation running till after you're gone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because these flyers these flyers are always going to be around.
Yeah,
they're always going to be in circulation. So you're always going to need someone to authenticate that.
Yeah, you just got to find the people to.
Well, it's you. It's you
come in and take on. Yeah, but the good thing about it is having these connections. So if I don't have the flyer, I can then contact, say, Mark up in Leicester or Rumour in Birmingham, say, have you got this flyer? Can you check it against yours? And if we really needed to, someone could post it to us if they really weren't sure, and then we can match it up, and then they can have it sent back with this authentication or whatever. So we haven't fine-tuned it.
It's a good idea.
There's an idea there somewhere that I think
it's a good idea. What you need to probably do is maybe create some type of a membership scheme.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, some sort
of where people might pay an annual fee or something, and for that annual fee, it doesn't have to be a massive amount of money. You're there as their support. You're there to authenticate things. Because if I was going to get into the reign of, or if I was going to get into the field of going for authenticating stuff and giving certificates and things like that, I feel like there should be some sort of fee structure involved in that too,
like a subscription.
Yeah, and that's why I was trying to think of a way that you could do it. So it's there should be a fee, but maybe if you did it in a subscription type format, that people were getting more than just that authenticated. You're now part of this, and you're part of the news network, and you're on the mailing list and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, we'd have to look at that. Definitely. There's other people who are more knowledgeable about this side. My knowledge is the flyers. Other people more knowledgeable in the business side and the authentication side and the algorithms and all of that we've got on board with us. So luckily, it's not just relying on me to do, because it ain't going to happen if it's just me. So that's one of the things, the business side of things, because I wouldn't want it to be like a profit-making organisation. I wouldn't want people to think, it's this big marketing thing. No,
good idea. Being a non-profit, that's a good idea.
Yeah, any money in it is just going in on expenses and what's needed to run it, and that would be it.
Because it does need to be self-sustainable.
Yeah.
There's no point in you having to running around trying to find, monthly fees or whatever. It's not going to work like that. It definitely needs to be self-sustainable, doesn't it? But it will be. It will be. Even if it came down to, it wasn't a subscription, you just got to pay for that.
Yeah, that's the other option, isn't it? Just if you wanted that done, that service done, then that's how much it would cost, sort of thing. Yeah.
But having now been in the game for 20 years, the PhatMedia has been at the forefront along with a couple of others. But now you guys are all at the forefront of this thing. You got 20,000 odd flyers in your database. So what would you say were your top 5 favorites, maybe? I know it's hard to say, because when people say to me, what's your top 5 or even top 10, when they say what's your top 10 acid house tracks, I'm like, I can't say. There's too many.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I love some of the Plymouth flyers because that's my hometown. That's where I grew up.
That's the connection.
I love my Raven shoes, like Alpha, Wasp Factory, some of those really early Xenas maybe, because they was raving in '88 there, which I didn't know about until recently. That they did some raves at the Plymouth warehouse, and it's just about still in one piece. I got this off DJ Destruction last year. I don't know if you can see it.
I can see it. Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, you're a little bit missing, but
that's very typical. And that fly is very typical of that time. That's kind of I would say they probably went to the same printers that we did. It's a high street. Yeah, it was like Pronto Print or someone like that. It was nice.
For Plymouth to have an '88, that's quite rare, because normally you just see it around London, wouldn't you? Mainly in Manchester and Blackburn.
Yeah, Portsmouth as well.
Sorry?
Portsmouth as well. I just found that out just recently. They someone sent me a load of clips from a Portsmouth newspaper.
Wicked.
Someone had basically collected them all. And
Yeah.
someone had contacted me and said, look, I've got all of these front pages from the Portsmouth News or something like that it is.
Okay.
And they sent it to me. And when I was looking, it was like 1988. There was warehouse parties going on up there.
Yeah,
I was like, come on, boys.
Yeah. Under the radar. It's great.
Boys.
Yeah. All these places, these little places, like, I don't know, Portsmouth isn't little. My sister lives there. I know how big it is, but all these other smaller places in London and Manchester and Birmingham, we're doing their things, man. It's going on.
Totally. And so what, and talking of Blackburn and Manchester, and have you got flyers? Obviously, you have got flyers from there, but what's your most popular flyers from Manchester and Blackburn?
I mean,
did Blackburn do many flyers?
Yeah, they did flyers. It's really hard to get them because people want to keep their flyers from Blackburn scene. You've got the revenge parties. You've got well, the bigger ones, Live the Dream. I think that was 89. They were a lot more DIY, a lot more, you know.
Yeah, I get that.
The impression I get,
Meet down there on Saturday, town centre, by the clock Saturday, let's go.
Big warehouse rave, massive, like thousands of them. You know, the footage of them are amazing.
It is. I never got to go, so when I look at that footage, it just reminds me of what we was doing.
Oh, and it's great, doesn't it? And then obviously they had some big. They had the massive rest of 800 odd people, didn't they? That one.
Was that where it was? Blackburn. I remember that front cover. I got the front cover. It was like 836 people arrested.
None of them charged or so, but the police beat the hell out of a lot of them, didn't they?
Yeah, they've done that to us. Well, I remember the police trapped us once in this, like these garages type thing, you know. In Bow, it was Bow Police as well, East London, you know, and we thought we were going to be arrested, but no, they just basically gave us a hiding, you know. It's because we had to go through them to get away, and they trapped us. So it's like we either have to go that way or we have to go that way. No. And so the way that we chose, they just stood there with their batons, you know, and as we come through, they just whacked us all. And then when we got past them, because they didn't try and stop us, they just said, you know, don't come back. We were like, we're definitely not coming back here.
No, I'm all right. Yeah, I'm not coming back then, mate.
Yeah. And so how do you see it going from here then, mate? How do you, for a start, do you think there's going to be, I mean, in fact, you're actually in a good position to answer this question, because your website, PhatMedia, they don't just host acid house flyers or house flyers. You know, I imagine you must have a massive database of drum and bass, you know, hardcore, probably more than what you've got of acid house, I imagine.
Yeah.
Given you've got, you know, 28 years of events, you know.
Well, you say like, because 88 popular, 89 got big, 90 was just growing because it was going into the clubs then. 91. So if you look at my database and I search by year, the biggest year for files is 1992. So
I believe it. And
in theory, when the most raves were going on, so that's probably the biggest. Yeah, I mean, obviously.
But do you remember? I do actually remember what's happening around that time. I can understand 92 being quite a hyped up year, because I remember at the time we were driving all around England, because acid house, it kind of, the wave moved in stages, didn't it? By 92, it was, you had legal licensed venues, the clubs were licensed, then you had legal licensed outdoor events, or you can basically license any type of event. And up north, they kind of took the crown. They took over from about 91, probably, but at 92 it was at its height. And some of the best parties that I've ever seen, because again, I wasn't going to these events as a raver. I was kind of accompanying someone else there, you know, and we wasn't staying. It was like a DJ. We would be there a couple of hours. They do their set and we would leave. But those parties, Birmingham Rag Markets, you know, Amnesia House, Marcus Garvey Centre, Nemesis, Eclipse, you know, I mean, that was such an exciting time for music as well, wasn't it? Because the music had changed. It was now hardcore music, which later becomes drum and bass.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the time when you come in as well, isn't it? That's like, this is your generation, isn't it?
Yeah, it progressed. I mean, Plymouth was still heavily techno, and it was heavily house, loads of house. So you had your house on the Saturday or your techno / hardcore on the Friday.
All right.
So often you do both. You do the hardcore nights on a Friday and then chill out on the Saturday with the house nights.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, the music was it's real going off then. So
And I remember that even the Eclipse Boys, they did a couple of massive aircraft hangar parties. Do you remember?
Yeah, T2.
Yeah, that's right. They did those parties. I think I've got the flyers for those as well. And so, and I remember Amnesia House. They did the biggest marriage. Was it the biggest marriage?
Yeah, you got Book of Love. You had
Book of
Weekend
Love.
World. You had all these 5 to 10 to 15,000 all night licenses being granted.
Yeah. Nemesis. The Nemesis party was amazing. It really was amazing. They had the DJ was in the middle of and it was at the Birmingham Rag Market. So it's thousands. I probably was 10,000 people there. And they had the DJ set up in the middle of the car park. And in this, when I say car park, I'm making it sound like it's underground. It wasn't underground at all. It was this massive high tower. And they surrounded it in like this white silk, like see-through seating. And then they had all these fans in there, you know, and it wasn't New Year's Eve. No, it wasn't New Year's Eve. They had all these fans in there. And so the fans were blowing the sheets. And I mean, it was stunning. And I was up and I was inside that, you know, and just looking out, and it was absolutely amazing. And I think the person that I was with played the last set that night. And the way that and so 1 minute there was 10,000 people in there. And I'll never forget how they cleared the building. They basically, you could start smelling CS gas.
No.
And then suddenly the building was empty. Like the building was literally empty in about 3 minutes, 4 minutes.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
So like, and it was the security. They were basically sprayed a load of CS gas. I mean, this is the days of unlicensed security.
Yeah.
So they sprayed a load of CS gas, and they did. They cleared the building. But it was an incredible thing. So I understand why a 92 would be hugely popular. And now that people are looking for that, you know, like before Acid House came along, we wasn't looking for it. You know, it kind of came along and slapped us all around the face. But by 92, it was a thing that you should look out for. You know, it was either hardcore, you know, the drum and bass, jungle, everything came from that, you know.
Yeah. A lot of the younger generation were coming into it then as well, that they'd heard about, and they couldn't have gone to the early days. So I think that's part of the sort of boom in the flyer sales now, because people weren't, or they can't afford, or don't want to spend the money on the Acid House ones. So it's pushing the prices up of the, like saying, all the early 90s ones now. So we're seeing, like, just today, I got a few people say to me, oh, you know, what's the price for these? And these, to me, they would have been £5. And I'd probably spend a couple of quid if that. I often swap flyers, but now they could be 40 to 50
bit of Satanism.
Don't look too much into the meaning of the
No, because at the end of the day, it's the same thing as we were saying. You know, we wasn't involved in the occult. It's just that this is the imagery that we were using. That's it. You know,
but it's all 1950s, 70s fantasy artists as well, isn't it? A lot of the art.
Yeah.
So they're going like really high, and people just like it. And now 5 people want that flyer, so then it's 40 quid because the market gets pushed up.
Wow.
So you're saying earlier about the best flyers or my favourite flyers.
Yeah, what are your best flyers? Because I mean, it's hard to choose from all those.
The market record for a single flyer was, I think, just around £300 for Sunrise.
Wow.
Sunrise One.
Can you remember what flyer it was?
Yeah, I don't have it, but I know who's got it.
So someone paid 300 quid for a Sunrise flyer.
Yeah, I've recently come into this, which is the pre-flyer for that flyer.
Wow, that's a really early one. It even mentions Apocalypse Now.
That's I think that the first Sunrise didn't actually happen either. It got stopped before it even started.
Okay.
But that's the pre-flyer for it. I don't know how much that would be worth, but
that must be worth a fortune.
It's not much.
It's not much to look at, but it says Sunrise and it says Apocalypse Now on it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
you know, Apocalypse Now is really important.
The record got blown right out of the water on Boxing Day. These guys who you know probably as well, the Hedonism parties.
Yeah.
From 1988, early 88.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of set the benchmark, didn't they?
Yeah, it was amazing. The lineups they had there with Mr. C and Colin Faber.
Yeah, and they set the benchmark. I mean, they had a massive party. It was like 1988, before us, before Genesis.
Yeah, the one venue, didn't they? And they had 4 parties there that were legendary by all accounts. and I've spoken to them in depth for the book. And
cool.
such lovely guys, Alan
So
and Simon.
let's go on. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, I have to say massive thanks to them, and they've donated some flyers for the book, which I've been lucky enough to get hold of. So
Excellent.
A little bit missing there. I don't know what happened to me, but
excellent.
it's a lovely flyer, isn't it?
That's very cool. A pop-up flyer.
Considering some of the 88 flyers back then, as you're saying,
I haven't seen a flyer like that back then or now. So that is impressive for back then.
This one here.
Nice. Reach out and touch.
Yeah, and they put so much thought into the design. There's a whole story between each flyer that they were telling me. And
wow.
So these are this is a set of
more hedonism flyers. Yeah, cool. Very cool.
Really cool little text designs on
very
the
cool.
And if you feel it, it's like all embossed.
Yeah, and it's that pastel paper. Yeah, it's the same as the Genesis flyers. The Genesis flyers are on that pastel embossed. You can feel the print. You can feel the ink, you know?
Nice, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so these, luckily I was kind enough to have these donated as PhatMedia's archives. So obviously these are in my possession for my whole life. And then my daughter's after me, if she wants them. Or sell them.
Even if she just has them, I'm part of a trust fund or something, you know.
Exactly. So, but they were put on sale as a charity auction by Simon and Alan, the original promoters, and all the proceeds were going to the Frankie Knuckles Foundation.
Cool.
There's a lot of interest, a lot of buzz in the flyer market. Oh,
nice.
These are flyers, and it shot up. It went up to 50 quid, 250 quid.
Yeah, cool.
£1,000.
I probably would have contributed to some kids or something, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great book. And it ended up with £2,400 for the 4 flyers.
Wow, very
cool.
About
record now of if you divide that by 4, £600 per flyer.
Wow,
it's the current record, and I can't really see that being beaten. But you never know. We live and learn.
Give it a couple more years.
Yeah. So that was impressive, and that was it's just such a buzz to see something that we love like that. Just
sure. And so let's talk about the future, Dave. You know how do you see PhatMedia's future?
Yeah, I think we need a relaunch on the website. It's the guy who does do it is very hard to pin down, and
well, he's a big boy now, isn't he? He's building all these massive websites, and
he's no longer a student, so he commands a high price. So he doesn't really have time for little pet projects anymore.
Sure.
So I've got to find him again, and we've made contact recently. We do every couple of years. So he has sort of half rebuilt it. So it's in the makings.
Excuse me.
It's going to be more user-friendly for mobile devices and stuff like that, which is really important now. Loads of little tweaks that need to be done, and just a whole new revamp. But the book is the main thing. So we're really excited about the book, or books. Now it's probably going to be 2 volumes due to the amount of content we got.
Sure. And tell us about the publisher. Have you already got a publisher, or you're going to be looking for one?
So it's my mate Al, who does One Love Books.
Yeah. You're going to publish them with him?
Yeah. So he's also an old rave as well, and he's done about half a dozen books himself off his own back. Nice. Really lovely, well designed and well presented. So
and he knows that self-publishing format as well.
Yeah.
Having done 6 books.
He's all experienced with that, so that's all in his hands, and he's editing for me. We just had the cover designed by Pez, so it looks amazing. Shout out to Pez. He's done some sterling work on there just in time, just before he's just had a little one as well brought into this world. So
nice. And so when is there a plan for when this is coming out, or? Yeah,
I mean, I'm just going to say this year at this point. I'm not going to commit to, I don't know.
At some point this year.
Yeah. It's a little bit delayed because of everything's been going on. So, it's definitely this year. So, yeah, exciting times, really. So after that, I'm going to take a bit of a breather, I think, and relax.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, when I know this with LSD magazine, like when you're in demand, it can be very tiring.
Yeah.
So I understand.
It's not a paid job at the moment. Maybe when the book comes out, it might make a bit of money, but it's really just for the love of it.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, so I'm working in my normal job anyway. So, and doing the flyer hobby, should we say, addiction / craziness in any spare time I've got.
Excellent.
That's it. So I'd probably take a little bit of a back step once the book's out, just sit back and relax, because I'm sure we're going to launch it hopefully post lockdown, a couple of parties, you know, and then maybe a few exhibitions would be nice to do with the book, and get some of the flyer collectors and designers involved.
Well, you could probably sell that book with just based on your database alone.
I think
of your community of people, I mean, you know.
Yeah, through Instagram and Facebook, it should do pretty well alone. So yeah, really, really confident and hoping it's going to be as good as we really think it is. The research we've both put into it, me and Al, and contacting all the original promoters and designers, just for little quotes. You know, it's mainly going to be flyers. It's mainly graphic book. So yeah, it's not going to be words.
So basically, you've got. I mean, you interviewed me for your book as well. So you've interviewed. You're getting flyers, the most important flyers from that period. And then you've interviewed a lot of the people, the promoters, and the people that either designed the flyer, or the people, you know, the promoters that put the flyers out.
Printed the flyers, like Paul, or went to the raves, you know.
Yeah. And what format is it in? Is this like a big hard book, or?
Yeah, it's going to be a nice big coffee table style book.
Nice.
300 pages in each. And yeah, it's probably going to be 2 volumes. So.
And will it be expensive? Because obviously producing photography on that level is quite expensive, isn't it?
Yeah, we're going to have to be wary of that. We're going to, you know.
I've actually got a book here that I was sent from Japan.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, I can't show you it because I've got a plant on top of it. But well, not actually on top of it, but but it's a book. It costs £800.
Oh yeah,
they sent it to me for free, but 800 quid is what they charge it. And when I said to him, I said, how much are you charging for this book? And they were like, £800. And I thought I read them wrong, you know. I said, no, for each one.
Yeah,
£800. I
was like, so yeah, 20 of them, mate.
Yeah, I said, okay. And I said, what, this one that you sent me for free? Like, yes, £800. Fantastic. Wow. Yeah, so books can be really, really expensive, can't they? I mean, I know I'm not saying you're selling yours for 800 quid, but
we'll keep it at the standard sort of rate on those coffee tables. Because no, Junior brought out one, Junior Tomlin, and Knowledge Magazine brought out one. So think along those lines, really. Yeah. Maybe a little bit bigger in size. But
I think the last time I mean, don't get me wrong, I haven't kept up with all the books that are coming out, you know. I know I'm in a lot of them, which is one of the bonuses that from me writing my own book was that before that, no one mentioned Genesis. And it just seemed like the people that were writing these articles, whatever magazine they might be for, it just seemed like they were new and therefore they didn't know who we were. But they were mentioning people that came after us and with real reverence, you know. And so, but once I wrote my book, then that was it, you know, then I'm in all of these books. So whenever I hear of a book coming out, I'm just like, oh, I wonder if I'm in it, like, you know. And I'm up to about 60 books now. It's quite unbelievable, you know.
I've got no idea. I do see your name popping up in book. There's Summer of Love book last year was done.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know about that one. You know.
Yeah, that's quite good. It's very. I
mean, a few Beefer books as well. You know, I even got a mention in a Wu-Tang Clan book. Big shout to Cyrus. I got a credit in a Wu-Tang Clan book in the last 5 years.
Yeah, nice. That's
it's crazy, dude.
You are the go-to man, though, Wayne. If there's a documentary on telly, it's Wayne's on there.
I appreciate it. I try, mate. You try, you know, because I mean, I think with me, you know, a lot of people, they get the hump and they say, you know, that they're always interviewing the same people, but I think they're just playing safe a lot of the time, you know. And with a lot of these TV documentaries, I mention everybody's name because I'm one of these people as well. Is I don't mind sharing the platform. I look at them and I think, well, the fact that you're not even going to mention me shows you don't want to share the platform, but I don't mind sharing the platform. And so I mention everybody's names, but as a director of the documentary and as a director of the film, when you start firing off all of these names, they now have to go and fill in the history about these names that you've mentioned.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if they know how much time they've got on this, and so a lot of the time they actually cut it out. They won't say to me, don't mention them, but at the end of it they will just cut it out, you know. And there's not much you can do, but there's still some, you know, I mean, watch this space. We've still got some really good stuff coming soon, you know. And I mean, you know, people saying to me, you know, are you going to do more parties? And I feel like, I don't know if I want to do social distancing parties, but I still haven't written off doing more parties in the future, but they have to be special, you know, like I try and say to people that when the motivation for us doing Genesis back then was that it was so new, it was so exciting, so many people were being unplugged by the experience that there was something in it. The money came last, you know, but now that there's all that excitement is gone, all of that intrigue, all of that drama and the money, it's like, well, what am I doing it for now? I'm only doing it for money now. And because money's never been a motivator for me, you know, and so because it's only about money, I feel like I don't really want to do it, but I'm not writing off doing
I'm
it.
glad you're not writing it off, because I was thinking the other day I missed your reunion party. When was that? 2011?
Yeah, I did two, didn't I? One 2011, one 2012.
Yeah, I missed them. I don't know what I was doing, but I didn't go to either, which is a bit of a mistake on my side. So
no, they were good parties. People enjoyed them. I never enjoy them. I never enjoy my own parties, and that's only because you're busy.
Yeah,
you know, I'm doing things, and everything's a stress, and you just want everything to go right, and so it's quite a stressful, you know, procedure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, in finishing, I mean, we've been speaking for a while now, and it's been really great speaking to you, but I know that you're in a little den there. Let's show us your little man's cave there, because you're surrounded by historic acid house flyers and everything else. Show us some of the stuff you've got in there, if you don't mind.
Yeah, a lot of people have
give us a little peek. You don't. I never normally say to someone, "Show me around your house." Show us your gaff.
Right. So I've got
nice. And they are all related books.
A few there. Yeah. Most of them are flyers or rave. There's the odd few here.
Yeah, go on, son.
There you go. And this is a nice Westworld I picked up recently.
That's Westworld, was it?
Goes well with this one here.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, I haven't seen those ones.
Yeah,
I've got some good Westworld stickers.
So nice. That's a
nice energy
one from the Moon Club.
Nice.
90. And these are. I am looking for Energy 1 and 2. If anyone has them, get in touch. I'm interested.
I can't remember what's 1 and 2. That's one, isn't it?
1 and 2 is basically these
That's
ones.
one, isn't it? Yeah.
But these are the 91 ones for the Eclipse. So these are going for silly money at the moment, which is great. Like, lovely.
But the thing about those, I feel like they're not even really energy flyers.
No, it's different by them,
you know,
wasn't it?
It's like, I mean, at that point, the guys took over energy. You know, and so I just feel like they're not really real flyers, you know. And they repeated the flyers, didn't they? Like they're actual reprints. Nice.
Yeah, they are different designs. So that's this couple of Shooms. I've got Shoom 88s.
Nice.
Designed by Steve Reed on the left and George.
You should get Danny to sign them, mate.
Yeah, he did send me one for the book actually, but I had to send it back. So
yeah, you should
these are what I picked up with the design.
Oh, look at that.
Excellent. Here we go. This is the collection. So we've got in here is just all the house stuff, which I haven't really categorized.
Wow. So basically, for those that are just listening, Dave has shown us around his office, and he's got crates and he's got filing cabinets, and he's just opened a couple of drawers, and they are packed solid with flyers.
All the spares in these 3 drawers.
Go on. Every drawer is packed.
You might call me this poster display unit.
Go on. You got one of them. Yeah, I remember those little poster display units. Got Beyond Therapy flyer there, JP. What's that, his son? Nice.
Lovely bit of junior artwork.
Nice.
And so
Rave the Game. Did I see you raved the game there?
Yeah, the board game.
Yeah, I'm going to be interviewing Patrick about that game.
That'd be good. Yeah, we met him.
Yeah.
Before. Yeah, so this is the main collection. So.
Wow. So this is like the 3rd or 4th filing cabinet he's about to show us.
These are the big filing cabinets. These are the beasts. So this is the 88 to mid-90s.
Wow.
And you know, it's hard to display really because it's all so organised and filed away.
Quite son. Are you organised? I'm organised. I mean, you must be insured.
And you got them all in there.
Nice.
And it's really
nice.
Like my mate said to me the other day, I need to get it out though and show it better. You know, show it So I've got to start thinking about how to actually.
The thing is, you could actually do an exhibition on your own without anybody.
Yeah, I could.
You know,
it would be nice. Yeah, I'd like to get a few people involved. It's always nice to have a collaboration and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
help with the.
For sure. Me,
Help to get, like,
I'm all about going solo these days. But yeah, I do know what you mean. It's totally right.
Yeah, so it's hard to show the collection.
Yeah,
like,
for sure. The way it is. How many flyers do you think you personally have in your collection?
In those two filing cabinets at the end, probably about 12,000, 15,000.
My word.
And in the house one, there's probably about another 7,000 or 8,000. And then I've got this full of magazines and newspapers and Euro flyers. So yeah, give it 20,000. Let's say that.
Wow. See, when you were saying 20,000, yeah, I thought you meant like, you got 20,000 in your online database. You've got 20,000 flyers in your house.
Both, yeah. So not all my flyers are on PhatMedia. There's about 6,000 waiting to be uploaded. So
wow, dude. That means, you definitely got the biggest collection. I mean, I knew that coming in, but that is shocking, mate.
I mean, like I said, Beach might have a bigger collection. I know his is pretty vast and complete as well, whereas not all of mine are complete yet.
Sure.
And who knows, there could be someone up there with it just in the loft and they're not very vocal.
You never know, mate. You just never know. Look at what happened the other day when some pensioners give their neighbours, they cleared out their loft of a load of Star Wars toys.
Wow. Yeah.
Gave it to their neighbour's kid. Their neighbour's kid has sold it. It got about 600 grand.
Wow.
I mean, it was a massive, there was about 60 toys. Big ones as well, like you had one of the big Falcons. And
if anyone's got a collection like that of Rayflies, and get in touch with Wayne and we'll look after it for you.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, So, Dave, mate, it's honestly been a pleasure speaking to you, mate. It really has. I think that we will speak again in the future. I think that if you're putting a call out for, people that might want to do a collaboration with an exhibition with you, or if you're putting out that if anyone wants to come and collaborate on helping you to build the new website, I mean, that's what we're doing right now. So if you can help Dave, if you're a bit of a web technician and you can help Dave, help him. And if you probably got your partners you're going to do the exhibitions with, I guess.
Yeah, there's a few other people already got their own exhibition, and he did ask if I wanted to help at one point, so hopefully that's still the case.
Sure. I mean, I did say to you can do it on your own. You can do it on your own.
Yeah, we'll do our own when we do the book. So
that's probably the best time.
The book ones that we're featuring, and maybe get some of the designers in there. So that'd be an exhibition of sorts. So yeah, definitely that'd be really exciting.
Well, I tell you what, and it's again just thinking about that collection, that massive collection. That's the most flyers I've ever seen. In a collection. I mean, that's not the most flyers I've ever seen. We once printed 150,000 flyers.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, and we ran out of flyers a week before the party. I mean, that was something, but that's another story. But I haven't seen that many flyers before in my life, and that's just nuts. And so you definitely can do exhibitions on your own. And I'm really looking forward to this book. I was interviewed for the book, and you've interviewed all the big faces. And so that's really something to look out for later on this year. And I feel like, I imagine you'd probably get a few of the boys to come and, probably do a sort of competition maybe and get a few of the boys to come down and sign a few editions.
Yeah, that'd be lovely. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, you know me, I'm always up for anything like that. You want me to come down and sign some stuff?
I think we'd like to invite anyone that helped out with the book to come along. Yeah, especially with the launch party and things like that. It'd be great.
I mean, even at the launch party, in fact, what would be quite good is if I've got a copy of it at the launch party, I'll get everyone to sign it. You know what I mean? That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get everyone to sign my edition at the party and keep it forever. I'm not interested in selling it. But so listen, mate, it's been a really pleasure speaking to you. Hopefully we'll speak together quite soon. Thanks again for giving us this time and for speaking about this, what started off as a hobby, which could soon actually become a career. You are the authenticator. And mate, thanks for appearing, and we'll speak again really soon. Thanks again, mate. Yeah.
Thanks for having me, Wayne.
Mate, it's a pleasure, mate. Loads of love, right?
All right, take care, buddy.
Nice one, mate.
Do you think it's anything to do with a certain religion, do you think?
No,
Is it anything
is it?
like that?
No, it's
No,
more to do
no.
with a kind of a drug, isn't it? It's a drug.
Yeah, well, those that take it ought to be ashamed of themselves.
According to The Sun, there were thousands of empty ecstasy wrappers littering the floor of the 250-foot-long hangar.
Drugs, sex, sensation.
Some newspapers have called acid house music a sinister and evil cult which lures young people into drug taking. The message is certainly getting across.
The organisers kept the location secret until the very last moment, which was the main reason, according to the papers, why there were so few police here and they were unable to act.
Drug-crazed kids, some as young as 12, boogied for 8 hours yesterday at Britain's biggest ever ecstasy bash.
The party took place here, infiltrated by reporters from the Mail and the Sun.
There's meant to be a drugs-related craze.
What do you know about acid house music?
It must affect the brain in some way.
Unless it's just the music that does it. Who
All
knows?
them lights flashing don't do you any good either, do it? I wouldn't even go in the pub where them lights are.
Oh, no,
They drive you
no.
mad, don't they?